don't have to prove yourself. The freedom of living aligned. Let me tell you a story that changed how I view people, purpose, and the pressure to constantly explain ourselves. A few years ago, I was at this cozy little dinner party, nothing fancy, just a group of people gathered around a fire pit in someone's backyard. The kind of night where introductions were happening, glasses were clinking, and everyone was sizing each other up a little, like we all do. That's when someone turned to a man named Aaron, quiet, well-spoken, probably in his late 30s, and asked him, "So, what do you do for a living?" Now, we've all heard that question 1,000 times. It's polite, it's predictable, and it's loaded. Because underneath it, there's often an unspoken test. Are you doing something impressive? Are you successful? Are you worth listening to? But Aaron just smiled calmly and said, "I live." There was this small pause, just long enough for everyone to notice, and someone chuckled nervously, waiting for him to elaborate. But Aaron didn't. He didn't feel the need to. And honestly, that silence said more than any resume ever could. After the gathering, I found myself walking beside him toward the parking lot. I had to ask, "What did you mean back there when you said, 'I live'? Were you being philosophical or just avoiding the question?" He laughed a little, not in a mocking way, but gently, and said something I'll never forget. He told me, most people, when they meet someone new, feel this strange obligation to justify their existence, to prove their value through their work, their achievements, their effort. But that's not living, that's performing. That's surviving under someone else's definition of success. He went on, "I used to play that game. I'd list my job title, the companies I worked for, even how many hours I worked, just to sound like I mattered. But the truth is, when you're truly aligned with who you are, when your desires and your beliefs match your inner values, you no longer feel the urge to explain yourself to anyone." That hit me hard, because I realized I had been doing that for years, listing accomplishments like armor, trying to fit into conversations by offering proof that I belonged, that I was valid, that I had value. Aaron continued, "The moment you use someone else's opinion to decide whether you're on the right path, you lose your center, and the longer you do that, the further you drift from your own voice." He told me how, earlier in his life, he bent himself into all kinds of shapes to meet other people's standards. Parents, bosses, society. Always adjusting, always explaining, always trying to be seen the right way. But it never filled him. And worse, it drained him. One day, he said, I realized I wasn't living. I was managing other people's expectations. And I couldn't keep going like that. So he stopped. He stopped trying to please. Stopped trying to be impressive. Stopped arguing with people who misunderstood him. And started something revolutionary instead. He started listening to himself. He told me it's not easy at first. When someone criticizes you, it's human to want to defend yourself. But once you train yourself to stay in alignment with your own inner compass, those defensive urges fade. Because you're no longer vulnerable to their judgment. You become rooted in something deeper. And here's the most beautiful part. Once Aaron found that inner balance, people did start asking him questions again. But they sounded different. They asked things like, why are you always so grounded? How do you stay so calm in chaos? What's your secret? People were drawn to the peace he carried, not the job he held. They didn't care about his business card. They cared about his energy. He said, when you're aligned, your very presence becomes inspiring. But when you're out of alignment, trying to fix, to prove, to argue, nothing you say will ever be enough. Especially to the people determined not to understand you. and he shared something profound in that moment. He said, "You can't become poor enough to help the poor thrive. You can't get sick enough to heal the sick. And you certainly can't shrink yourself into someone else's comfort zone and expect to grow. You uplift others by being whole. You offer light by being lit from within." That's when it really clicked for me. We spend so much of our lives trying to fix how others see us, trying to live up to expectations that don't belong to us. But the only real way to help, to lead, to love, to live, is to stay aligned with who we truly are. From that place, you don't need to convince anyone of anything. You don't need to defend your choices. You don't need permission. You just live. And that becomes more than enough. So now, when someone asks me, "What do you do?" I still tell them my profession. But in the back of my mind, I hear Aaron's voice. I live. And I remember that the most important work I do isn't my job or my title. It's the work of staying in tune with myself. Choosing thoughts that feel good. Letting go of the pressure to prove. And simply showing up as the most authentic, aligned version of me. That, my friends, is living.